Hello there, I'm just after getting off the phone with Daniel Kinahan. He's just informed me that the biggest fight in British boxing history has just been agreed. Get up there, my boy!
On June 10th, 2020, world-renowned boxer Tyson Fury posted a video to his Twitter confirming the date of a massively hyped-up fight between him and Anthony Joshua. A fight often called the, quote, biggest fight in British boxing history. The caption read, quote, it's official, Fury versus Joshua agreed for next year. Massive thanks to Daniel Kinahan for making this happen. In the video, he also dropped Daniel Kinahan's name multiple times. The fight wouldn't happen on its original date of August 2021 for a variety of reasons. But 2 years later, Tyson's father, John Fury, would take to social media himself shortly after a different fight between Tommy Fury, the brother of Tyson, and Jake Paul was canceled. In the video, he claimed that neither he, Tyson, nor Tommy were actually even allowed entry into the United States, seemingly due to their connection to Daniel Kinahan.
Me and my team this morning arrived at Heathrow Airport, ready for the press conference, ready to fly out. And as soon as we entered the airport, I got pulled to one side and I was told by the Homeland Security officer that was there that my ESTA had been denied and I wasn't able to travel to the USA.
This might have meant very little to many, especially those in the US who were unaware of larger world events and saw Daniel Kinahan as little more than an unknown name who happened to be responsible for seemingly organizing a legendary matchup. But in reality, Tyson Fury was extending his repeated thanks in the video to a notorious figure in the worldwide scene of organized crime, gun running, and drug dealing. It was Daniel Joseph Kinahan's father, Christy Kinahan, a convicted drug dealer who was believed to be the real founder and leader of the Kinahan cartel. His father served multiple stints in prison with convictions related to heroin charges and served 17 years for kidnapping a member of the famous Guinness family. And yes, I mean Guinness as in the beer. However, it's his son Daniel who was suspected of running the day-to-day operations of the criminal organizations. The Criminal Asset Bureau in Ireland has stated that Daniel Kinahan controlled the cartel in its activities of smuggling drugs and weapons into Ireland, the UK, and the rest of mainland Europe. A recent valuation of the empire by the Garda, the Irish police force, has put the criminal enterprise's valuation at over €1 billion. In 2009, a telegram sent from the US Embassy in South Africa to the Pentagon described Kinahan as a suspected prominent figure in international drug trafficking. Since then, Daniel Kinahan, along with other known family associates, have been banned from entering the US, being placed on the list of narco-terrorists compiled by the FBI. In 2010, he was arrested in a joint effort by Irish, British, and Spanish authorities in a multinational drug trafficking ring inquiry, though the investigation was eventually shelved with all of their assets returned to the Kinahan family on request.
The United States Department of State is pleased to announce a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to the financial disruption of the KTCO or the arrest and convictions of its leaders.
The incident isn't the only trouble that the Kinahan family has faced in Spain. In 2015, Gary Hutch, a member of the Hutch crime family, was found dead at an apartment in Spain. Gary was the nephew of Jerry Hutch, the leader of the crime syndicate. Gary Hutch had been working with Daniel Kinahan for years, but was suspected for being an informant for the Spanish police, an allegation that would prove to be false after his death. For this reason, the Kinahan family was blamed for Gary Hutch's death. In February of 2016, there was supposed to be a boxing match for the World Boxing Organization's European lightweight title at the Regency Hotel in Dublin, Ireland. However, at the weigh-in, there was a premeditated armed attack. 3 members of a gang who were armed with AK-47s and dressed up in SWAT gear burst into the hotel.
The weigh-in was taking place for a boxing match, aptly named the Clash of the Clans. It abruptly ended when gunmen armed with assault rifles burst in and opened fire. People fled in terror, children as young as 5 screaming for their lives.
David Byrne, a criminal associated with the Kinahan family, was killed and 2 other people were injured. It was believed that the target of the attack was none other than Daniel Kinahan himself. Kinahan, however, had left early, narrowly escaping the attempt on his life. Patrick Hutch, the brother of Gary Hutch, was charged with the murder of David Byrne. The very same month of the Regency Hotel attack, Eddie Hutch Sr., an uncle of Gary Hutch, was attacked at his home in an attack that was allegedly motivated by a desire for revenge for the death of David Byrne. Michael Barr was killed in April of 2016 for his suspected connection to the Regency Hotel attack. In May, Gareth Hutch was shot and killed by 2 attackers in a car park. Tom Fox, who was imprisoned for his connection to the death of Gareth Hutch, was attacked and suffered multiple stab wounds. In an effort to tackle the ongoing feud, the Irish police have seized over 400 firearms and 60 million euros worth of drugs. The feud, though, is ongoing to this day, and so far has resulted in the death of 18 people, with most of the killing carried out by the Kinahan family. And if the allegations that Daniel Kinahan is the man running the everyday operations of the business are true, it seems pretty clear who one could reasonably blame for the attacks. And if you don't want to get attacked, then leave a like for this video. If you're enjoying the documentary, we do videos like this every single week, so make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications. Let's get back into it. If you're a boxing fan though, you might know Kinahan, or at least his ventures, because of something a little different. In 2012, along with former boxer Matthew Macklin, Kinahan founded Macklin's Gym Marbella, later renamed Mack the Knife Global, an international boxing and MMA promotions company. Starting originally as a boxing-focused gym in Marbella, Spain, the company made its entry into MMA when it signed UFC fighter Darren Till in 2007. Over the course of several years, the agency will go on to sign dozens of well-known fighters like Carl Frampton, Billy Joe Saunders, and Tyson Fury. In 2019, MTK signed an agreement with boxing promotional company Top Rank that would allow MTK events to be broadcast on ESPN in the United States. But the company was not able to ignore the controversies and criminal underpinnings of its founder forever. MTK hosted the fight event at Regency Hotel, the one in which Kinahan was targeted and David Byrne was killed. While Daniel Kinahan had tried his hardest to make MTK Global appear as a legitimate and separated business from his family's doings, the shootings had proved that the two worlds in which he operated could not be cleanly separated. In January of 2018, there was supposed to be a fight at the National Boxing Stadium in Dublin, but there was a shooting near the stadium in which 2 people were injured. The Hutch gang was believed to be responsible, as retaliation for a murder allegedly orchestrated by the Kinahan family the week before. Just a few days afterwards, a boxing event listed at the City West Hotel that was to feature 5 of MTK's boxers was canceled, with the hotel citing security concerns, likely related to the Regency Hotel attack, the boxing stadium attack, and the entirety of MTK Global and Daniel Kinahan itself. As a response, MTK said that it was quitting Ireland entirely, laying the blame on Irish media and press for slandering and vilifying the group with false allegations about its connections to organized crime. Sandra Vaughan, the CEO of MTK at the time, clarified that MTK Global had distanced itself from Kinahan, who had sold off his control of the company in February of 2017. But as I'm sure many already know, corporate structuring isn't all that different from organized crime and how it obfuscates and hides the people in charge and the involvement of publicly controversial figures behind phony titles. Kinahan was appointed an advisor to KHK Sports, an organization founded by Hamad Al Khalifa, the King of Bahrain. KHK Sports then entered into a partnership with, you guessed it, MTK Global, allowing Kinahan a degree of influence over the company's dealings without official, on-paper involvement. Kinahan would be let go from KHK in June of 2020, and some months later would be in hot water for his involvement with MTK yet again. In December of 2020, he was served a racketeering summons in Qatar due to boxing promoter Moses Heredia. Heredia alleged that MTK had signed fighter Joseph Diaz after he had won the World Championship in 2020 in what constituted a breach of Diaz's existing contract with Heredia's management company. Heredia also alleged that MTK Global itself had been founded as a front for Kinahan's drug and weapons smuggling operation and is also seeking pursuing charges under RICO, or Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, in his legal case. Now, what I will say is Heredia has humongous balls, because not only are you going against Kinahan himself, which is a no-no, but you're also trying to hit him with RICO. The RICO Act will take out an entire organized crime unit. It's basically what was used to take out the mafia in New York City. In February of 2021, less than a year after the announcement of the partnership with KHK and Heredia's allegation, the BBC conducted a documentary expose on Kinahan and his ties to the boxing industry. And we all know Kinahan has ties to boxing, but if you want ties to getting better as a martial artist, check out my Patreon. That's an incredible plug if I do say so myself. Signing up for Tier 1 will give you access to these YouTube videos early, and signing up for Tier 2 will give you exclusive videos that you won't see anywhere else. If you're interested in supporting this channel, click the pinned comment below. What they found is that even though Kinahan was no longer involved with MTK directly, he had been serving as an independent advisor to a number of boxers represented by MTK and had even performed this service for other fighters represented by other companies. The British Boxing Board of Control made a statement that they were essentially powerless to stop Kinahan despite his organized crime ties because the role of advisor that he was taking did not require a certification or license that would be revoked by a board. Soon after the BBC broadcast aired, the Irish police announced that the documentary team that had produced it had been threatened, with one of the journalists involved being forced to leave his home in North Ireland to be moved under Irish police protection. But something changed in 2022, just months before this video was written, when Kinahan and associates were hit with heavy sanctions from the United States. The Office of Foreign Asset Control targeted 3 businesses and 7 individuals that are either members of or associated with the Kinahan family, which the office referred to as the, quote, Kinahan Organized Crime Group. In addition, on April 12th, the U.S. Department of State announced rewards up to $5 million for information leading to the arrest of Kinahan family members. That very same month, MTK Global announced that it was shutting down entirely, citing supposedly unprecedented and unfair levels of scrutiny and criticism due to the organization's relationship with Kinahan. During this time, Kinahan had been hiding in Dubai for a while, protected by the United Arab Emirates' lack of extradition agreement in place with Ireland. But the UAE itself has attracted negative attention with Western partners due to being a bit of a haven for organized crime due to lax enforcement and opportunities for money laundering in precious resources or real estate. With the US, the UK, and Spain all being involved, taking direct action in the form of sanctions and offering up rewards, authorities in the UAE finally stated that they were investigating the Kinahan family in tandem with officials in the United States, Ireland, the United Kingdom, and Spain. That's what I'm talking about, boy. They also announced that they had issued a freezing of personal assets belonging to Daniel Kinahan, as well as assets associated with the Kinahan syndicate at large. Due to a multinational effort, it seems that the Kinahan family's illicit businesses may finally be feeling some real pressure. When asked about the sanctions placed against Kinahan, Tyson Fury responded that he had zero business with the alleged crime boss and had not had any interaction with him in a long time, and that the sanctions had nothing to do with him.
It's none of my business, and I don't get involved in other people's business, so it doesn't really concern me.
But was he involved at all in this fight?
No involvement.
And do you still speak to him? Is he still somebody that is close to you? Will you speak to him?
He's not my father, let's just say that.
This was a far cry from personally thanking and gushing about Daniel Kinahan just a couple years prior. While this was likely a deliberate attempt to distance himself from an increasingly scrutinized, hunted, and public crime boss like Kinahan, it also seems to represent Kinahan's loosening grip in the world of professional boxing. However, it's important to keep in mind that Kinahan seemed to disappear from the world of professional boxing before, and had in fact just hidden himself as a, quote, advisor to allow himself to exert control without as much scrutiny, and that the Kinahan syndicate is much bigger than just any one person. Even if he is caught and charged, what really happens to the global organized crime ring, and even their involvement in sports, remains to be seen.